Presentation today is basically going to be two parts. I'm going to explain a little bit about what the EMA does, and then we'll go through the EMA process, and where we're going to talk about how you can plan for you when events do occur. Our mission at the Lake County Emergency Management Agency is that we will protect Lake County communities by coordinating and integrating all activities necessary to build, sustain, and improve the capability to mitigate against, prepare for, respond to, and recover from threatened or actual natural disasters, acts of terrorism, or other man-made disasters. Our organization is actually required. Under Ohio Revised Code, all 88 counties have to have an emergency management agency. Lake County Emergency Management Agency, as I said, works under the appointment of the county commissioners. My direct boss is the county administrator. I have one deputy director that works part-time. He's a Wilby fireman full-time, and if you notice this, you're going to see this throughout many emergency management agencies. The fire service, because of being multitasked with many situations, unlike police, they handle SWAT and police events. Fire handles hazmat, water rescue, search and rescue missions and stuff like that. So those things are all a big part of emergency management. In fact, through Homeland Security and grants, we work at the Emergency Management Agency to support those regional type teams with the getting of large equipment, so you as the local taxpayers don't have to buy that. It's bought through FEMA grants through the Department of Homeland Security. So we work real hard to get to support the regionalized teams, hazmat, water rescue, SWAT, bomb, and take that burden away from you as the taxpayers. Joe, he handles a lot of that, what I just talked about. He's been assigned that, and he does an excellent job. We've brought in millions over the years in equipment to support these special teams. Also within my agency, I have a full-time emergency planner. I have a full-time emergency planner trainer. That person is paid under the Energy Harbor agreement that we have with the plant. This is a very, for nuclear counties, it's very common to have an agreement to support the training for the off-site response agencies who would respond to if there was an nuclear emergency because of the plant. It's additional burden put upon two counties in the state of Ohio that are host cities to nuclear power plants, us and Ottawa County. So, and with that, we have partners, and that being Ashtabula and Jago that we work with regularly, and they also have a little agreement with them too, because they are part of the EPZ. So Brad works for Lake County, but his salary is substituted by that grant. It isn't fully paid. The commissioners do that. And then we also have an administrative assistant, and then I have the LEPC, which is Local Emergency Planning Board, Planning Committee. They deal with the hazmat end, the chemical manufacturers. We have about 180 sites within our thing that have extremely hazardous chemicals. They pay to the state of Ohio through CERC funding. They pay a fee, and we get some of that back. And I have a gentleman on my staff who's paid for by that, and he works with the fire chiefs to train our hazmat team. So we have a very small staff that does a lot of work to prepare for and keep you all prepared for emergencies if it becomes above the local limit. And I'm going to let Joe speak for a little bit.
So as the director said, the emergency management has many different parts to it. Here was our map that he was just speaking about of who's on the part of the emergency management agency. So what makes up emergency management? We actually are four parts that come together: mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. So talking about mitigation, those are the actions that we take to avoid or try to prevent disasters from happening. You know, we talk about flooding. What do we do to try to prevent flooding? We make sure houses are built not in floodplains. You know, back in 2006, we had the large floods in Painesville that wiped out some of the condominiums down on Main Street there. After that, they decided that that flood area can no longer be occupied, so it comes through the different levels of emergency management to figure that out. But some of the things that we have are generators, so when we lose power, we have backup power. The LEPC and many of the fire departments in the county do a vial of life. I'm sure you've heard of that or may have one at home, where it's a list on your refrigerator that has your medical conditions, your medications, allergies, things like that. So if the fire department or paramedics respond to you and you're not able to give them information, there is some baseline information for them to work with. Talk about managing vegetation. Here in the city of Mentor, we have one of the biggest marshes in northern Ohio. And one of the things over the past 10 years that's been working is mitigating all the, Aphrites, I believe is the name of the plants in there to keep from having another big marsh fire like we did in the past. Preparedness is the second block in emergency management, and this is where we go out and practice. This is where we go out and do drills. As you see here in the two pictures is the hazmat team and then the American Red Cross. We train with them regularly. Every 2 years we have to do a drill with FEMA to say that we are able to respond to take care of an issue should something happen at the nuclear power plant in Perry. So every 2 years FEMA comes in and evaluates all the fire departments within the emergency planning zone and works with them to make sure that they can assure that should we have an emergency, everybody would be ready to help. We stand up the different care centers in the county. Eastlake North High School, Willoughby South High School, our emergency worker decon, which is actually here at the Mentor Stadium. And we practice those with the departments so that they're ready to go, and we do different drills like this as we go through. The next thing is the response. This is when something actually happens. This is the lights and sirens. This is the fire department going out to help somebody. The picture you see there is actually from 2019 from the ice jams on the Grand River. I took that picture flying one of the drones. We were trying to assess how far back the ice was because we were working on trying to get one of the Coast Guard cutters to come up the river to undo the jam for us to help it flow. So we were taking pictures. But these are all the actions that are undertaken in the immediate aftermath of a disaster. The tornado response here in South Mentor that David spoke about when he introduced us, that's one of the things that would be the response side. And the last portion is recovery. Those are those condos that I talked about that are no longer there. It's now the Grand River Conservation Area. And this is set up now as a park for people because we realized we couldn't build houses there again because it's going to flood again. It's a floodplain. So that was something that came out of that. So what happens in a disaster? How does a disaster work? Obviously, we have warning. Tornado, we have sirens, different things like that. We're actually in the process of replacing all of the sirens on the west end of the county. So they've been working through since last summer, getting the new sirens in and replacing because those sirens were getting old to the point where they weren't turning like they were supposed to. We're getting some failures with the old ones, so all the new ones are getting put in as we speak. But that's that warning, that increased readiness, getting the fire department ready, police department ready, whatever. We have an incident that occurs, our red splotch up there. The first thing is the response. That is your local response. The city of Mentor, city of Willoughby, city of Painesville, or Perry Township, Madison Township, their initial response. They get on scene and realize it's too big for them. They can't handle it. It's overwhelming their resources. They reach out to the county then. They say, we need help. We need extra help. They'll go to other agencies throughout the county or they'll go to the EMA and ask us to get resources. We will give them everything that the county has. If the county can't support it or we don't have enough resources, we will reach out to the state of Ohio. That'll go down to the governor. That'll go through the Ohio EMA director. She'll reach out to the governor. The governor is going to look at what the state has. At that point, we're looking at the commissioners are going to do a declaration of emergency for Lake County, saying that it's exceeded what Lake County can handle. We need more assistance. It'll go up to the state. The state does their thing. If they can't do it, they'll do a declaration of emergency as well, which then turns it over to FEMA, and that brings in the FEMA resources then. Large tornadoes, floods, hurricanes, those are the times where you see those big FEMA disasters. with that, you've got to reach a threshold of so many uninsured homeowners, things like that go through there, or a disaster above the uninsured amount. So those are some of the things, but they'll do that damage assessment. They'll bring in the FEMA folks that'll help with that, and then you may get a presidential declaration with that. And with that, that opens up then the purses of the Stafford Act to help get public assistance and individual assistance to the homeowners and people that may need that. I'm going to turn it back over to Director Busher to talk about some of the plans we have here in Lake County.
I'm going to start with one of the largest plans that we work on, and it's a requirement of the federal government that we have this plan in place. It's our Lake County Hazard Mitigation Plan. That plan currently consists of 684 pages. That plan was last updated and approved by both the state of Ohio and FEMA in 2022, in December of 22. So in 27, we have to complete that whole process over. The process that was over 2 years, and I actually started working on it in mid-2019, where I applied for grant funding so we can hire a consultant to assist us in the writing of this plan. This plan gives us what Joe was just talking about, the ability, if we have an earthquake as an example written into this plan, it gives us the ability to file for both state and federal funding should a major disaster be declared. I always get asked, and the earthquake or tornado is a prime example, and I'll use Mentor's tornado. Sadly, and I'm going to say this, we're a very wealthy county. And because of that wealth, we will have very poor chances unless we have a major destruction. And we have to reach certain thresholds in damage above the uninsured. So it has to be uninsured damage. How many of you throughout your life when you were homeowners didn't have insurance upon your homes? And the sad part is, in today's thing, and there is talk of it changing, and it will be at the federal level, debris pickup, such as all the trees that were scattered all over, is not a part of that plan. We're working through the state and through the federal government to hopefully have the president make that part of the plan in the next thing. I don't know how government will go, and I don't know whether that will be. We do wish for that for the community, because that's the hardest thing for you as homeowners, not having insurance to pick up the downed trees. And you saw it, there's mass destruction during that area, or that time, to our area. But because we're insured, and most banks require that insurance, and you continue that upon paying off your loan, retiring of your loan, so that you have protection, it makes it very difficult for us to reach the thresholds that we have to reach to get federal funding. I can use the example of the flood that Joe talked about. That was the last time a federal declaration was made for us as an individual county. And if you go back further, there wasn't many other federal declarations before that time. So I'd like to say there's better hope. We're going to work on it as an agency. We always try to work through the state. When I talk to those in legislative positions, I always try to make the appeal that it should be changed to assist just with debris cleanup. If a federal declaration is made, debris is part of it. I think it should be earlier on. So we do try to make changes, and little old Lake County does make a lot of little changes, or a lot of changes, and I can explain those further as we go about. Second plan we have is Emergency Operations Plan. That plan is adopted by all the communities within our county, and it's updated every 4 to 5 years. Our next time we have to update it is in 2025. What an update means, that has to be sent to the state for their review to make sure that no changes on the state level's plan haven't been instituted on our plan. We have to review this plan annually, and we have to document that review and any changes we individually make prior to sending that plan down. That plan, and I can't remember the exact number, but I think that's about 460 pages. So as you're seeing, we got 1,000 pages that we have to read just in 2 of our plans. We also have plans for evacuation, not only for the nuclear power plant, but in case there was a train derailment, like in East Palestine where you needed to evacuate. We have plans in place for that. We've worked with the local police and public safety individuals to create this plan. Mass casualty plan, should there be a bus accident, Amtrak train that goes through your community regularly that would derail, we'd be able to have a plan in place. With that, we've also worked with the hospitals and regional hospitals and healthcare coalition, and they've put a lot of things in place. Because say you're on a bus trip and you're just coming back, and God, I hope this never happens, but that bus gets in an accident. We, as the county and the paramedics throughout the county, have the responsibility to know if Joe, my partner, gets sent to the hospital, he isn't going to be sent to the local hospital if there's a mass disaster. So we have a tracking process as a part of this plan that we use, so that I know if John Doe got sent to Akron or Erie or Columbus via Life Flight because of the condition, we'd be able to know where he is, look at it, be able to advise his family. So those are little things that we have in place that we can help the families who are going to be very distraught at this time. And reunification is one of the big things that we do, and we do have an agency that we work with above and beyond us, and that's the Red Cross, as Joe had met. They have a reunification plan in place that we'd bring them in to assist us with that during those events. Then we got a Lake County Hazardous Material Plan. I'm going to brag about Lake County's hazmat team. It's made up of members from pretty much every community's fire department. It's one of the only Type 1 teams in the state. Type 1 is the highest level of hazmat team you can have. There's only 8, I believe, throughout the state right now. And I'll use Cleveland and Cuyahoga counties. It takes 4 of their teams, 3 of their teams, 4 of their teams to get together to create one Type 1 team. Because of the federal funding that I said we were able to get of the grants and the support of all the local mayors and managers and fire chiefs, we were able to institute and make our team a recognized Type 1 team. We get typed every 3 years now. I thought they were going to change it, but they're keeping it a 3-year plan. And we have evaluators that come from the state and many other agencies to make sure we reach all the criteria to remain a Type 1. With that, they actually evaluate all the equipment, and we, the EMA, have worked with the county fire chiefs, and the grant funding that they said, we've been able to get sustainment funding so that, again, no local taxpayer money, it's federal money to bring all the equipment that we need to keep that typing. And then the team is supported through local funding by sending your staff to it. Then we work with, and I've talked a lot about the fire service, but this is a situation where our police agencies are heavily involved. We have a terrorist annex. It's sort of not a public document because we don't want the bad guys to know what our plan is should there be a terrorist or other type event. So we have a plan in place, and as you can see, they're becoming more if you watch the news these days, these events are becoming more the common than the not, sadly, in our world. People, because we're a very rich and wanted country, people are jealous of us out there in the world. They're trying to do attack or harm upon us, and then we have our people that have been raised here that got a little goofy over their life, and they want to do harm to people also. So we have to have plans in place. An example of a smaller incident, but it did occur in City Mentor some months back, is when active shooter incident occurred up on Mentor Avenue. But those plans got put into place. Our drone team was used. We have a very good response team for drone. They can fly into, and they did fly that day, into the trailer to make sure the victim, and I'll call him a victim, but the active shooter was down, and it wasn't going to put any of our police agencies or those still in the park that hadn't been evacuated in harm. We can actually, Joe, and I can watch it on our phones as the drones are being sent in. We could set it up at the EOC to watch the event should we have to activate our EOC, either partially or fully, to support the events going on in the scene, so that whoever is sent from the police, state, Ohio State Patrol to assist, they can watch it on the screen, see what's going on miles away, and it really puts us at a great advantage. Radio Emergency Response Plan. As I said, we're one of the few counties in the state, only two, that have hosts, and we have to write a radiological emergency response plan and have it updated annually. That plan consists of one binder with about 144 pages, which is the plan itself, and then we have 30 plus SOGs that are in 2-inch binders that the off-site response agencies and those that respond to the EOC, should there be an activation, have to use to make sure that they're following all the procedures that are in place for the handling of whatever emergency we're dealing with at the plant. So there's a great emphasis and stuff, and Joe touched on it a little bit. I'll use our 2022 exercise. That exercise was evaluated by FEMA. There were 550 participants in that exercise. It was a hostile action-based incident where somebody was attacking the plant and trying to do harm so that a radiation event would occur. As part of that, this was an actual release, as if they got in and did damage to the plant, and there would be a release. So we had to plan evacuation routes and all that. And our goal, the plant itself is under the NRC, and anything within their gate, they control. They write the procedures for the plant. FEMA, who we work under, they take the NRC's plan, make sure that annually all the changes that the NRC has implemented is written into their plan, and then they work with us and create a crosswalk that we have to institute and update our ERP to make sure it's following all the procedures, and then all our SOGs have to be updated to make sure that the local people that are coming to assist us are doing the right thing for the event. And we have to prove to FEMA as a county that we provide them reasonable insurance that we can protect the public should there be a nuclear release from our plant. Knock on wood, and I'll do that 1,000 times. Nuclear power plants are probably the most over-regulated industry out there, but thank God, because it could be major destruction if they weren't. So I'm very happy about that. And the last plan we work on, should there be an airport emergency, whether a plane crash or some other event, and or if we needed to take over the airport, and I say that in loose terms, where we had to bring resources in, whether federally or state, we have a plan in place to bring all those resources in should there be a major disaster or need. So those are the plans. And then I'm going to talk about the solar eclipse. How many people know that a solar eclipse is happening on April 8th, 2024? Glad to see the hands. That means the messaging's getting out. We've worked real hard on that. I attended the Ohio EMA's mandated fall conference in 2021, and they put this on our radar. At the next two conferences, they continue to bring us data. Some of this data is amazing. And Ante, I can say, because I've spoke with him, he was in the traffic jam because him and his son went to visit the last eclipse that occurred in 2017. Example of how bad roads got backed up, the stats that the state gave us, the travel back from that point in Kentucky, on that day they estimated was 17 and a half hours to Columbus, which was a 5-hour drive usually. In Wyoming, people couldn't leave for 3 days. People that didn't plan on camping and all that, didn't have change of clothes, didn't have food, got stuck for 3 days. Who did that become a burden upon? the locals. When the locals had reached their limit, it became a emergency management agency was called in to assist. They had to actually do some state requests because of all this. So I'm trying to give you the warning. The one thing I cannot guarantee, and I've said this 1,000 times, if I could predict the weather, I would tell you how it's going to be that sunny. If I could predict the weather, I'd probably be doing better predictions than that. I'd be working at the stock market, see where my kids are going to be the rest of their life, how I can help them out. But I can't do that, so I'm just going to stay with what I got, and I'm bringing the warning to everybody. Plan to have extra food in your home. Plan for potential of bad travel. Fill up your gas tanks the week before so you have fuel in your vehicles. In 2017, 47 countries had people, residents, come here to visit this. 47 countries. I can tell you for a fact, we've talked with Geneva State Park. Geneva State Park has lodging, and they also have pavilions you can rent out. They are all rented already. Our hotels are at 61%. Of the rentals at the state park, the closest renter is in Cincinnati, and the rest of them are out of the state. So it is going to bring people here no matter what the weather, sunny or not, because it's still going to go dark. Avon Lake is the center point. 5 miles out on our lake is where they're, directly off Menor, is where the exact solar eclipse is going. That's the line. So we are in a very prominent area there, and if you get a sunny day, and it's going to be a great place to view it from. All this that we've been planning for nearly 2 years, the total portion in Lake County only lasts 4 minutes. It starts at 1:59, goes to 4:29. It's just like you get dark at night, darker, 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 and then it gets morning, morning, morning. That's the 4-hour portion. 4 minutes is the total solar eclipse. And and it isn't just the EMA. I presented to the county commissioners, got a buy-in from them after meeting my boss. I then went to Lake County mayors and managers, and all of them were 100% behind it. They wanted their public safety agencies, both police and fire, to be a part of it. We have meetings monthly, and we also have some work groups that are putting plans together for this event. Those other participants that include, it's our local state patrol out of the Chardon office, because they cover both Lake and Jaga. ODNR, they're expecting 11,000 people minimal at Headlands Beach that day. Other events that are occurring, the executive airport's planning an event. Farm Park is planning an event. Captain Stadium's planning an event. Every winery is having at least a 3-day event. Menor's planning at the amphitheater. I'm just going through them all. And those are the ones we know of today. There's a lot of plans that are being put in place that we don't even know about yet. We've been trying to get the messaging out so that we can put those on not only the state board, but our GIS and our Remarkable Lake County, which is our Lake County Visitors Bureau, is trying to post those things too. So we're doing a lot. We hope it goes well that day. I believe it will. Traffic is going to be a headache. But with that traffic problems is getting your resources of public safety to people that are in need. So it's going to be a little bit slower that day if it occurs the way that we've been told. And they said to plan for up to 2 to 4 times your population. We're a little over 232,000 residents in our county, so that's anywhere from 500,000 to 1 million people within the county on that day. And we also have talked with Lake Tran, because dial-a-ride may be affected. And we have also talked with the Lake County Agency, or Lake County Aging Council, and they are a part of our planning team, and they know that it may be difficult to deliver Meals on Wheels that day, so they're planning on potentially putting a plan together to deliver on Friday meals that can be used on Monday should there be as much traffic as they're talking about.
So I'll take over here as we were talking about with the planning portion of it. Some of the things that maybe common misconceptions that people bring about planning or about emergencies themselves. That most emergencies are short-lived. While the actual emergency itself might be short, the recovery time can be days, months, years, depending on what they're going through. Some people might say, I won't ever have to deal with an emergency where I live. But that's not true. Here in Lake County, we have all sorts of different emergencies on an annual basis. We have winter storms, floods. We do have small earthquakes. Knock on wood, like the director said, we haven't had any big earthquakes in almost 40 years, but you never know. We've always got a plan for it, right? Another misconception, there's just a lot of emergencies I can't prepare for. And that's not true either. There's many small things you can do that would be good for any emergency that happens. Items in a go bag, and that's one of the things that we'll show you at the end here, a bag that just has specific materials in it for you that you might need to just grab quickly in an evacuation. Some of the things that you can be used for power failure, stuff like that. The last misconception is preparing takes too much time. And like I stated before, it's all small steps. It doesn't have to be done all at once. You don't have to sit and put everything together. It's the little steps here and there. 5 minutes today prevents something to be a problem tomorrow. So what can you do to plan? And that's what I'm going to get into talking about here a little bit more. So there's 3 steps, is knowing the risks, and we've kind of discussed some of that today. We've discussed, the weather emergencies, flooding, earthquakes, preparing for the solar eclipse itself. We've talked about the plans that we have, and we wanted you to make a plan for yourself. Where would you go? Who would you contact? Who's your family members that you need to keep in contact with? And then what would you put in a kit should you need to prepare a kit? So we talked about the risks. I'm not going to go back through this, but this is part of that hazard mitigation plan where we pick up all the different things, coastal erosion, stuff like that, and we build it into our plan. So making a plan, I've got Ben Franklin here who says if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. So that's something to keep in mind. But putting together a plan and discuss these 4 questions. How do you receive your emergency alerts? We talked about the WENS network. Mentor is very active in the WENS network, and they've been a great partner since we got that in 2019, the new system. And we will actually assist you today. If you're not signed up for the WENS system, at the end of the presentation, Brad and myself will be able to assist you either with your cell phone or with one of our iPads to sign up so that you can get these alerts, not only the emergency ones we send, but any other information that the City of Mentor shares as well. So what's your shelter plan? Do you have family or friends you're going to go and see if you needed to? If you didn't have power, is there someplace you can go? A lot of people, they'll stand up the senior center here and allow people to come here should you not have power at home or on those cold days when we have those negative temperatures here. What's your evacuation route? Do you know how to get someplace? Say we have to shut down Route 2. Can you get to Willoughby or get to someplace that you need to get to? Do you know other ways around if you had to shut down a road? And then what's your communication plan? And that's where I was talking about reaching out to those family members and talking with or having contact information to know you run out of power on your cell phone and you got to use a landline. Do you know the phone numbers of who you're going to call and things like that? Or have it written down somewhere. Make sure you have that plan in place, email, backup ways to share information with your family and stuff. And then the last step we were talking about was preparing a kit. And as you saw on the screen, a couple of things popped up, but here's a list of things that we would normally put in a kit to last for 72 hours. So might have bottled water, the big things, flashlight with batteries, your cell phone charger and or battery backup so that in case you don't have power, you have a way to do that. Your medications and a local emergency phone numbers for the city outside of 911 because 911 may be inundated should there be a large disaster. You want to make sure you know what the 10-digit number is for the dispatch center as well. So the last thing I wanted to talk about today is WENS, or our wireless emergency notification system. This is the reverse 911 system that allows us to get information out to you. We only use it in an emergency if it's a risk for life or risk to loss of life or property. or it could aid in the apprehension of a criminal suspect or the safe return of a child or elderly patient that is missing. Those are the only times that the EMA puts out an emergency where we alert everybody. The city of Mentor has different agreements with their residents that sign up that they can get different messages that way. City of Willoughby, City of Paynesville, all those that are also on the system have that. But a true emergency from us has to meet one of those criteria. So I'm not sure. I'm going to take the microphone back there to see if I can get this video to play. This was actually done by the City of Mentor.
The Lake County EMA has updated their Reverse 911 emergency notification system. The new Wireless Emergency Notification System, or WENS for short, went into operation on January 1st. Phone numbers from the old system were migrated, but now is a great time to confirm that you're in the system in case your number changed. Registration takes less than 60 seconds, so visit reverse911signup.info right now to make sure you get the message in the event of an emergency.
That was an awesome partnership that we had with them that we did for it. But we do have two websites that point to the same spot, Lake Ohio Alert or Reverse 911 Sign Up. That'll take you to the sign up website. Also, if you have your cell phone, if you're familiar with QR codes, you can hold it up to the screen and it'll take you right to the website from there.